All right, you guys. So Ryan Reynolds obviously has to be deported back to Canada. Once again, this is a way for the left and the right to come together because no matter where you stand on the topic of mass deportations of illegals, we can now all agree that the moral crimes committed here by Ryan Reynolds against Justin Baldoni have amounted to high treason.
The intimacy coordinator in some of those sexier scenes, like we saw you.
That shouldn't be happening, by the way. I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have.
Well,
thank goodness.
You were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you seen
this?
I actually just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, you know, romance is really important.
That this was a very deranged A-list plot to just completely stage a hostile takeover of Justin Baldoni's movie and his sequel. And I'm telling you, this is, I hope it goes to court. It's not going to.
Nobody's talking about this, but they should be. This wasn't some last-minute Hollywood drama. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds planned their takeover of It Ends With Us from the start. This wasn't about creative differences. It wasn't even about Justin Baldoni. And no, this wasn't where Blake fell for Justin and Ryan got jealous and lost it. This was about power, control, and a calculated move to hijack an entire franchise. Blake didn't just stumble into this role. She positioned herself strategically. She came in as just an actress, but behind the scenes, she was following the exact playbook Ryan used on Deadpool. He turned that franchise into a $785 million empire, negotiating a massive $20 million base salary and $40 million in back-end profits by the sequel. And now, Blake's using those same tactics to reshape her own career. So how did they do it? Step by step. Move by move, I'm breaking it all down, because once you see the full picture, you'll realize this was never just a movie, it was a power grab. This is another David versus Goliath fight, and of course, Justin is David. And for those of you on Team Lively, I ask you, stick around. Maybe I'm onto something you never knew. So please hit that like and subscribe, and let's get into this.
I guess we'll just start with revelation number one, which was that we were totally correct about Ryan Reynolds. What is that, like, personality test? Is it called like an Enneagram personality type 1 through 9? Well, Ryan Reynolds on the Enneagram is a psycho. That's what he is. He's just a psycho. His number is psycho. And we had suspected, just by piecing together everything, that he didn't want Blake Lively to be away from him.
Not a big budget. So it was not something where we're like, oh, you know, let's have like the most successful singer of all time, you know, in our film. It was just not something we were considering. But it worked so well in the trailer that I was like, we got to put this in the movie. And there was a moment that was very important to me for Lily's journey, because there's something that happens in her life.
The dream begins. 2019 to 2022, Justin's passion project takes shape. Let's rewind to where it all started. 5 years ago, Justin Baldoni had a vision. He wanted to adapt It Ends With Us, a book that had captured millions of readers worldwide. But instead of waiting for a major studio to greenlight the project, he took a risk. He personally secured the film rights from Colleen Hoover, the author behind the best-selling novel. Hoover had built a massive fan base, and her books weren't just popular, they were cultural phenomena. Readers were emotionally invested, and Hollywood knew that a film adaptation would be a guaranteed success. But rather than handing it over to a major studio, Colleen made a surprising choice. She sold the rights to an independent filmmaker, Justin Baldoni. Justin wasn't a Hollywood powerhouse, but he had gained respect for his work on emotional, character-driven films like 5 Feet Apart and Clouds. He had experience bringing deeply personal, heartfelt stories to life. To maintain full creative control, he decided to fund the movie himself through his indie production company, Wayfarer Studios, a bold move that put his own money and reputation on the line. The film was set to be made on a strict $25 million budget, a relatively small number by Hollywood standards, but one that allowed Justin to stay independent from major studio interference. This wasn't just a business decision, it was personal. Justin wanted to tell this story his way. He believed in the message of It Ends With Us and saw it as an opportunity to make a film that could truly impact audiences. To show how deeply invested he was, he cast himself as Ryle Kincaid, ensuring that he would not only direct but become the face of the film. For a while, everything seemed to be going according to plan. Then, in January 2023 came the biggest casting announcement yet. Blake Lively would play Lily Bloom. Fans were excited. The film had all the makings of a massive success. It had a beloved source material, a dedicated director, and now an A-list actress attached to the lead role. But what people didn't realize was that this wasn't just a casting decision. This was the beginning of a takeover.
Hey guys!
Wow. We are so great to see you. You look fantastic. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you so much. That was really nice, guys.
I mean,
Well, today, her team, and respect to them for the speed at which her marketing team moves, dropped an entire article in the press announcing that her and Blake are taking a break. They're no longer friends because, shocking, Taylor Swift feels used. She always feels used. And she wants nothing to do with the Justin Baldoni situation. Is she being used, or are people starting to jump into lifeboats because Ryan and Blake's Titanic, you know, the ship that not even God could sink, is sinking? It's going down because God is God, okay?
The takeover begins. Blake Lively's second move was waiting until half of the $25 million budget was spent before making major demands, leaving Justin Baldoni with no way out. By the time production had finalized her wardrobe with carefully selected outfits, she refused to wear them and demanded a complete redesign to fit her personal taste. This forced the production team to scramble for new outfits, stretching the budget even further. To make matters worse, she required her entire wardrobe be delivered to her and Ryan Reynolds' home for fittings, adding extra logistics costs that drained even more funds. This created tension with the crew and clashed with Justin's creative vision, completely undermining the film he had spent 5 years developing. So why didn't Justin just replace her? Because he couldn't. At this stage, with half the budget spent and Sony on board as a co-distributor, the project would collapse if Blake walked away. And with Justin self-funding the movie, his estimated $4 million net worth barely covering Blake's own paycheck, he was trapped. Now, Blake had all the power, and she was just one step closer to taking full control.
He's in Kent, and one of our editors, Shane Reed, who, fun fact, he was my editor on Taylor's music video that I directed, and I was obsessed with him, and I was like, this guy is amazing, and he never edited a movie before. He just finished Deadpool and Wolverine, and he came on and helped us with this one, and he has incredible taste in music.
The script takeover and the dragons move in. After forcing wardrobe changes, Blake Lively's next target was the script. But this time, she wasn't acting alone. She called in her dragons. In a text to Justin Baldoni, Blake referred to herself as Khaleesi and called Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift her dragons, a reference to Daenerys from Game of Thrones. The metaphor was clear. Ryan and Taylor weren't just her friends. They were her enforcers. Ryan Reynolds, known for his sharp scriptwriting in Deadpool, helped Blake rewrite dialogue and scenes without consulting Justin or the screenwriter. One of the biggest changes? The rooftop conversation between Ryle and Lily. The screenwriter was unaware of the rewrite, thinking it had been improvised, but in reality, Blake and Ryan had crafted it behind the scenes. And then came the most manipulative move yet. Blake invited Justin over to her home, supposedly to discuss ideas. What he didn't expect? Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift were waiting for him. As soon as he arrived, they showered Blake's rewritten script with praise, cornering Justin in an intense pressure tactic. They pushed for approval, forcing Justin to remind them, "I am the director." But when that didn't work, Blake switched tactics. Late that night, she sent Justin a text expressing disappointment. Feeling guilty, Justin left a voicemail at 2 a.m., apologizing and agreeing to the changes. And with that, Blake regained control, bringing her one step closer to her ultimate goal, exploiting the writer's strike, Blake's final power move. By this point, Blake Lively had already forced wardrobe changes, taken control of the script, and leveraged her dragons to pressure Justin Baldoni. But her most calculated move was yet to come. When the Hollywood writers and actors' strikes halted production, most of the industry saw it as a setback. Blake saw it as an opportunity. Taking inspiration from Ryan Reynolds' own career tactics, she used the pause in filming to renegotiate her contract, but not just for a pay raise. She came back with 17 non-negotiable demands, pushing for greater creative control, oversight, and decision-making power over key aspects of the film. At this point, Justin was completely trapped. Sony, as a co-distributor, saw Blake as the film's biggest marketing asset. Losing her would jeopardize their investment. Blake's previous demands had already forced budget overruns, bleeding Justin's personal finances into the project. Replacing Blake wasn't an option. If she walked away, the film would collapse. With Sony's backing and the power of the Hollywood strike behind her, Blake now had full control. And Justin, he was no longer the one calling the shots.
No, Justin Baldoni, I got you. I'm gonna defend you because I just don't like when people are bullied for absolutely no reason. If you're gonna pick on someone your own size. Ryan Reynolds, okay? Pick on me, because I'm gonna come hard, okay? But what you guys did here is nuts, and you're gonna see a lot more people on the run. Because I'm still not done with Colleen Hoover. I also think that there's some evidence that maybe Justin Baldoni's podcast person was in cahoots in communication with Blake and Ryan. I'm gonna show you all the evidence, okay? I'm gonna show you all of it. But Taylor Swift's team on the run, because all of these episodes, we got like 1 million views, and they realize that, the hound nose is on point. We know what's going on here, and we're not looking away.
Infiltrating the editing room, the final takeover. After forcing wardrobe changes, rewriting the script, and leveraging the Hollywood strike, Blake Lively had one final move to secure her control over It Ends With Us, taking over the editing room. For directors, the editing phase is sacred. Industry rules protect a director's cut period, ensuring that the film's final shape aligns with the director's creative vision. But just as Justin Baldoni thought production was finally behind him, Blake made her next move. Using her executive producer status, Blake requested access to the editing bay, normally off limits during this phase. At first, she was granted 2 days, but through strategic maneuvering, she extended it to 10 days, long enough to assemble an alternate cut of the film. And she wasn't alone. Ryan Reynolds, known for being hands-on in post-production for Deadpool and Free Guy, stepped in to assist. Together, they replaced the original editors with their own hand-picked team, including at least one who had worked on Deadpool. But Blake wasn't the only one making power moves. Taylor Swift also got involved. The film's original composer was fired, not for creative reasons, but because Taylor allegedly had personal issues with him from a past project. The composer was replaced with someone from Ryan's Deadpool team. In the end, 2 versions of the film existed, Justin's cut and Blake's cut. Studio test screenings favored Justin's version, but knowing Blake, she wouldn't back down until she got exactly what she wanted.
Yeah, and we share the same composer as well from Deadpool and Wolverine, so there's a lot of sharing happening.
The final ultimatum: promote my version or else. After forcing script changes, hijacking the editing process, and stacking the production with her own people, Blake Lively made her final, most ruthless move. She issued an ultimatum to Justin Baldoni. Either the studio chose her version of the film, or she would refuse to promote it. If Blake walked away from press tours and red carpet events, it would be a PR disaster. As the film's lead actress, her absence would send a clear message. Something was wrong with the movie. This kind of negative buzz could tank the film before it even hit theaters. But Blake took it even further. She allegedly threatened to take Colleen Hoover with her. If both the film's star and the book's author refused to promote the movie, Justin's version would be dead on arrival. The marketing campaign relied on Blake's star power and Colleen's massive fan base, and without them, the studio would have no way to sell the film. Blake and Ryan understood their influence perfectly, and they used it to hold the production hostage. At this point, Justin had no options left. He had spent years bringing It Ends With Us to life, only to watch it slip completely out of his control, stealing producer credit, the final power move. At this point, Blake Lively had already taken control of the wardrobe, the script, the editing, and even the film's marketing. But she wasn't done yet. She had one last move, securing a formal producer credit. But before she could cement her takeover, she had to humiliate Justin Baldoni one last time. At his own film's premiere, Justin, who had spent 5 years bringing It Ends With Us to life, was sent to the basement. It should have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life, career-wise. Instead, I was literally sent to the basement with my family and friends. I wasn't allowed to be seen. Justin's exclusion from his own premiere wasn't a coincidence. It was a statement. Blake and Ryan had positioned themselves as the true faces of the film, and now Blake was making a push for official producer status.
And actually, we learn that on July 23rd, 2024, Sony informs Wayfarer, the studio financing the premiere and most of the film, that Lively had demanded that Baldoni, Heath, and Wayfarer refrain from attending the New York premiere and threatened to cast-wide boycott if they do. oh, this is really Justin's fault. I need to be man up and accept, the public, you're noticing some things, but you're wrong, public. Basically, the command was gaslight the public while behind the scenes, we act awful. That was the command. That was the instruction, okay?
The PGA Power Play, earning an official Producers Guild of America credit, requires meeting strict industry standards. When you compare those criteria to Blake's actions, it becomes painfully clear. This wasn't just about creative input, it was a calculated takeover. The PGA credit requires story development. Blake inserted herself into the process by rewriting parts of the script, hiring key personnel. She removed Justin's editors and replaced them with her own team. Post-production oversight. Both Blake and Ryan spent 10 days in the editing room, recreating her version of this film. Music selection. Leveraging her Taylor Swift connection, she secured My Tears Ricochet for the soundtrack. Marketing and promotion. Blake and Ryan even attempted to cross-promote this film alongside Deadpool 3. Every strategic move, from hijacking creative control to bringing in her own team, was aimed at checking off every box required for official PGA producer status. But why was this so important? Because this wasn't just about It Ends With Us. This was about Blake's career evolution. Blake wasn't just trying to control one film. She was following Ryan Reynolds' career blueprint, starting small, securing a producer title, and leveraging it for bigger projects and multi-million-dollar back-end deals. Ryan took a low salary for Deadpool 1, gained creative control, and by the sequel, was earning over $60 million in back-end profits. Blake took a lower salary for It Ends With Us, pushed for creative control, and aimed to negotiate future film rights and back-end profits. And her ambitions didn't stop there. Blake and Ryan weren't just after It Ends With Us, they wanted the entire Colleen Hoover film franchise. In an interview, Blake openly said, "If Colleen has her rights, I'll follow this woman anywhere." Shortly after, Colleen Hoover launched her own production company, Heartbones Entertainment, raising questions about whether she was working directly with Blake and Ryan on future projects. But here's where things take a dark turn. Justin Baldoni originally bought the film rights to It Ends With Us, securing his role as director and producer. However, hidden in the contract was a morality clause, a legal provision stating that if Justin were ever accused of abuse or harassment, his rights to the project could be revoked. And that's exactly what Blake Lively allegedly exploited. She made a harassment claim against Justin, triggering the morality clause and effectively nullifying his contract. With Justin out of the picture, Colleen Hoover was free to issue a new contract, this time to Blake. And why would Colleen do this? Because in Hollywood, star power equals profit. Justin, while respected, was still an indie filmmaker. But Blake Lively? She was a household name, a Hollywood A-lister who could bring far more visibility and financial success to the It Ends With Us franchise. This wasn't just about a movie. It was about building her massive empire.
We were also correct, my understanding in our assessment, that Blake and Ryan never intended to file a real lawsuit. They just wanted to do the CRD complaint because they thought it would be enough and the public would be swayed, and they truly thought they were smarter than the public. So they plotted, again, they got to get rid of this Leslie Sloan PR people because they suck. Because they were like, the public's not smart enough to know the difference between a civil rights complaint in the courts and an actual lawsuit. And it took like 3 hours before mommy sleuths on TikTok were like, this is not a real lawsuit. I mean, like, literally, I saw threads about it in a blink of an eye. And so this is the problem with these Hollywood types. They think they're so much smarter than us and that we can't get to the bottom of anything. And if we do figure something out, it's because we're getting paid, which is ridiculous. And so I am obviously not going to let go of this lawsuit at all.
But it's all going to be based on evidence. It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did and how she bullied her way through the process to take over the movie and used her PR people to try and destroy Justin. And that's what it's going to be, essentially about. But there will be a number of causes of action. There's a number of different defendants here.
The irony, Blake's Khaleesi fate, as Blake referred to herself as Khaleesi, a reference to Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones, the powerful queen who used her dragons to conquer and rule. But how did Daenerys' story end? She flew too close to power. She went too far. And in the end, Jon Snow, who just so happens to share a very similar man bun with Justin Baldoni, took her down. The trial is set for March 2026, and you already know Brian Freedman is out here fighting to get the truth out. But now, I want to hear from you. Is Blake really just following Ryan's playbook, or is there even more to this story? And the big question, can Justin ever recover from this? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe so you don't miss the next update. Stay safe, stay cool, and I'll catch you next time.